Meath are unchanged from the side that defeated Louth a fortnight ago. The experienced Mickey Burke starts our cornerback, while Brian Menton and Ronan Jones are named at midfield. The full forward line of Graham Riley, Brian McMahon and Donal Lenihan scored 15 points against the wee county, with 7 from play scored by Riley. Kildare make one change to the side that easily beat Laois in the quarter-final, with Paddy Brophy replacing Paul Gribben in the forward line. David Hyland and Owen Doyle form the spine of the defence, while Tommy Mulick provides leadership at midfield. Daniel Flynn is selected on the edge of the square. Referee Joe McQuillan gets this Leinster senior football semi-final underway. A huge prize, a Leinster final appearance on the 16th of July, and it's Meath coming forward. And a chance for the first score of the game. And what a start for the men from Meath, with James Tuher giving them the lead inside the first 20 seconds. Super run, Brian Menton picked out Tuher. Super start for Meath. Great atmosphere in Tullamore. Perfect conditions. Cribben, nice little jink. Good run from Keith Cribben, and a fine ball inside. Here's Cathal McAnally. And that's Kildare's first score of the game, and it's come from Cathal McAnally, well created by Keith Cribben, and the scores are Meath a point, Kildare a point. Great work initially by Kevin Feely. Cribben then fed Cathal McAnally, and that's a good score. Waiting for the run of Lyons. Ollie Lyons, a great man for joining the attack. Chance now here for Daniel Flynn, and that's the score of the game so far. Strong running, good support play, and Daniel Flynn puts the Lilywhites back into the lead. Great run forward, Ollie Lyons, and off his left-hand side, Flynn with a good one. Conway. David Hyland gets it forward. That's a 50-50 ball, but it might work out well. Chance here for McNally. That's a good save, but it's gone inside. And McNally has started this game superbly. He scored 1-2, despite Paddy O'Rourke's best efforts, wasn't able to keep out the effort from McNally. And 4 points now, the difference. Great catch by McNally. Waited until O'Rourke came out and struck it low, and it went over the line. Ronan Jones under pressure. Foul though, but not enough movement inside. And again, the ball, well, won by Brian McMahon, and he had to work really hard to get possession up there on his own. McMahon out to James McEntee, the substitute. Donal Lenihan, he's managed 1 point from play already, and that's his second. Lovely score from Donal Lenihan. Meath badly needed it as well, created by James McEntee, the substitute. Still Conway looking for a runner, seemed to be held back. Here's Brophy. That's a great score from Paddy Brophy, his second point of the match. And Kildare will go into the break with a really handsome lead. Hernan showed lots of hunger to drive forward in the first half. That's a very good ball inside. Now a bit of pace shown here by the substitute, Rory O'Cullen. Oh, what a wonderful point from Rory O'Cullen. That's 3 points in a row now for Meath, and they're back to within 6 points. And again, it just shows when you have a player coming at pace, but great composure shown by O'Cullen. McEntee to O'Sullivan. Just lost it, Cillian O'Sullivan, lucky to get a second bite of the cherry as Brian Menton drives forward. Here's O'Cullen. O'Cullen's effort is high and is accurate. What an impact Rory O'Cullen has had in the opening 6 minutes of the half. That's his second point, Meath's fourth, and the gap is down to 5. Sullivan waited and he shouldn't have, and Owen Doyle was in ahead of him. Good play by the Kildare captain, and a great ball to Flynn. Oh, and that's a great score by Daniel Flynn, created by Owen Doyle. First to the ball as Cillian O'Sullivan hesitated, and Daniel Flynn manages his third point of the match. Back to Brian Menton, who has already got a point. Now will it open it up for a second attempt from him? Into O'Sullivan, back to Menton. Now he'll have a crack, and Brian Menton has got another. And the gap is down to 5. It's a good point by Brian Menton. Stayed in touch with the attack and fired over. McNally running the ball down into the corner. Clever pass as well. Callahan inside to Flynn. Can they conjure up a score between them? Flynn, tight angle. Oh, lovely. Great score by Daniel Flynn. That's his 4th point from play in the match. Well worked by Kildare. Look at that. A lot of class shown there from Flynn. Ball inside. Oh, that's good pace shown here by David Slattery. Should be a score at the end. Gets the ball inside, and can Kildare finish with a goal? Yes, they can, and it's Daniel Flynn. Superbly worked goal. David Slattery involved, finished by Daniel Flynn, and that is surely that. Well, it opened up inside, and Flynn having the ball home. The referee, McQuillan, has blown the full-time whistle. Well, Kildare managed 121 against Louth, and they managed 216 today. And goals from McNally and from Daniel Flynn did the damage. Kildare through to the Leinster final for the first time since 2009. Final score in Tullamore. It's Kildare 216, Meath 13 points.
You know, we laid down a marker in terms of how we wanted to play. And it's how we've tried to play all year. We've been successful some days, unsuccessful others. But I think in fairness to the group, even when there's a 10-minute spell, the game went against us in the second half, they kept trying to do the right thing and kept sticking to our game plan, which has worked for us. And I think that was reflected in the performance and the scoreboard at the end.
Yeah, we got a bit of a run on them in the second half, but it's like, you know, you see that quite often. The team gets a score and it breaks that run, and all of a sudden they get themselves back into the game. But I mean, it was the periods where we had them under pressure were all too brief, really.
Yeah, big win in the end for Kildare. Just looking at some of the stats from last night, it was Meath who enjoyed the lion's share of possession, interestingly. And look at the free count. Kildare conceding just 3 frees in the first half and none in their own half of the field. So that's extraordinary discipline. We'll have more about that in a while. Kieran Whelan, were you impressed with Kildare?
Yeah, you couldn't not be impressed with them, Des. They were very, very good last night. Probably the best I've seen Kildare in a number of years. Very well balanced, very strong defensive performance, well structured, well organised. Cut off Meath where they were strongest. Very good going forward. Their inside line scored 2-9. Daniel Flynn, excellent. Cathal McNally, excellent. They have a great midfielder in Kevin Feely returning, top-class midfielder. So there's a lot of positives for Kildare. Meath, on the other hand, will be hugely disappointed. We heard a lot, you know, that Meath were improving, that they were coming back. They have pace in the forward line. They're not the biggest Meath team we've seen in recent years, but though where they were looking for those strengths in the forward line, 5 of their starting forwards were substituted last night. That tells its own story. Totally outclassed in the end, and the better team won.
Your reflections on it, Pat?
I was very impressed by Kildare. You know, when you talk about Leinster being a one-horse race with Dublin miles ahead, there's no doubt about it that Kildare have the physicality, have the pace, have the athleticism, have the skill, have the scoring power to put it up to the Dubs. Perhaps not this year. I think this is a Kildare team that's evolving, that's developing. They have youth on their side. And I think a year of Division 1 football, I think you'll see the best of them probably next year. But they were very, very impressive last night. Meath, on the other hand, a major disappointment. 2 championship games played to date, no goal scored. Meath, they've conceded in the 2 championship games 5 goals and 25 points. So un-Meath-like. And, you know, we saw them go toe-to-toe and innocent against Louth and out-shooting Louth. Yesterday, they brought sort of bodies back and did it poorly. They look like a team with no game plan, are trying to get a game plan, and they're unsure of what they were doing. But they were, you know, they flattered to deceive at times during the league. They were inconsistent during the league. But have they improved since last year? On the basis of what we've seen in the yesterday in particular, no.
And yet against Louth, they were free-flowing and free-scoring.
Because it was an innocent game of football, a shootout. You know, you take the game against Louth, where Louth just left Graham Riley the freedom of the pitch, and he scored 7 points from play. Last night, they had a man marker, Kildare, David Hyland, on him. He got no score and was replaced.
You saw Meath that day against Louth.
Well, they were let play by Louth. Louth are very naive and they played man-to-man. They left a lot of space between their midfield. Their half-forwards dropped back and they were able to pop ball into space and they looked very, very good going forward. I'm
trying to find a glimmer of hope for Meath supporters.
Well, you know, they do have that pace in the forward line and they have good forwards. They didn't perform last night, but Kildare were very smart. They clogged up the centre of the defence. They got bodies. They got a great balance. Owen Doyle dropped back in front of the full back line. They got their half-forwards back into that space where Meath are at their strongest. Tactically, they were outclassed.
Well, let's look at that actually when you talk about the Kildare tactical success and how they attacked from
one
deep.
of the aspects that I would be most disappointed with from Meath was the work rate of their forward line. If you're going to play man-to-man football, Des, you have to, your forwards have to work hard. Meath forwards didn't work hard last night. Kildare were very, very good attacking from deep. We've highlighted Ollie Lyons. He was the last guy to get the ball in the defensive position from the keeper. You can see Meath have 6 or 7 pushed up. Now Ollie's well back the pitch. The Meath forwards for me didn't track last night. We can see who comes into the picture here. There's no pressure. There's no intensity from Meath. Ollie Lyons comes in. He's straight down the heart of the defence. No one gets contact on him. Great counter-attacking play, but Daniel O'Flynn straight over the bar. And too many times we saw that in the first half. Here's another perfect example. 2 inside forwards to Meath, switch off. David Hyland is there. You know, nobody tracks him. He's allowed stroll. And again, if you're in a position in a match, you're not putting the pressure on the guys outside the field. You're a sitting duck. The Meath full back line aren't the best in the world. You know, ball into Cathal McNally. Again, he takes good goal. Paddy Rourke nearly pulls off a save. Again, we're just highlighting Ollie Lyons here again. He was hugely instrumental last night on that counter-attack.
But in all those clips that Kieran has showed, it showed the great variety to Kildare's attack last night. There was the direct ball which set up the goal. There was the direct ball into the full forward line who got 2-9 from play. But also there was the running from deep, as we showed with Ollie Lyons. And the patient play, waiting for a player to come off the shoulder and popping a point. So great variety. You know, it was a really, really impressive. Like I said, they've scored 3 goals and 37 points in their 2 championship games to date. That's an average of 23 points. That's fair cracking against any opposition.
But in contrast then to the attacking structures, what did you make of them defensively?
Well, I've highlighted several times that the need to get a balance, and this Kildare last night had a brilliant defensive system in place and a great structure in place. Yes, the bodies were back, but they also individually had responsibility for a Meath player. So here you have three Meath players highlighted, 3 Kildare fellas. The pressure, we alluded to Donegal where there was no pressure put on Tyrone. Here's the pressure on the time. They're getting a hand in, they're getting a knock in. I thought their defensive display was absolutely superb. In the second half, you know, one of the key things as a defender, try to win your individual battles. Try to get the ball try to get out to the ball first. And we saw their first slip. Again, the same thing. Pressure, 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 pressure. Getting a hand in, forcing turnovers.
And the point you were making earlier, Des, in respect to Kildare getting back here, that's where Meath are at their strongest. That's where they hurt loud. They had runners coming through the middle of that position. Kildare, you see, they had 4 or 5 bodies back. They knew that's where they were going to cut off Meath's ignition, and Meath struggled to make any penetration in the forward line. So, like as Pat alluded to, great balance to their play,
great organisation,
great performance. But, and there is a but, Meath full-backs gave them 5 yards of space. It was a great night for inside forwards. That easy ball coming in.
And I'll add a little but as well. 13 wides. They created 33 scoring chances and converted 18.
And the biggest challenge, biggest challenge for me for Kildare is they haven't performed in Croke Park in the last few years. It's been a bad haunting.
He's afraid. As a dope, he's afraid.
He gave them all this praise.
That's where the mental challenge is. They've lost Westmeath last year. They've lost the league final to Galway. Croke Park is not a nice place to go to. They need to get over that mental block to get to the next level.
Well, in Croke Park they'll play either Westmeath or Dublin, who meet next week. Westmeath beating Offaly in that replay comfortably enough in the end.